Have you ever considered the impacts of your past to your present, or ever considered just how connected your life is with others? Hello, I'm Naomi, the host of Letters from the Chosen podcast. In this podcast, I share key moments from my childhood of how I went from life in rural West Africa to life in the United States. And I hope that by sharing my story, you get to see just how intricately involved God is in the details of our lives. In each episode, I hope you will take the time to reflect about your own past and be inspired to share your own story. Please share any insights you gain and let's grow together. I look forward to you joining with me each week. Let the story begin. Rooted. That feeling of uncertainty came over me again. My eldest sister had brought me to live with yet another family. This time they were strangers. No longer would I be staying with family members or distant relatives. I was off to my fifth home that year, or sixth if you include my own. A plant constantly uprooted never grows. Oh, how tired were my feet, and how they desperately longed to be planted, rooted, and established somewhere called home. I walked up to the gate of a beautiful colored home. This was the home belonging to George and Ruth Jones. George and Ruth were missionaries serving in Angasi in a neighboring town. George was a doctor and his wife Ruth was a nurse. They were medical missionaries from the United States serving in developing areas. My first day at their house was a little bit blurry because they had a large dog at the gate that terrified me. I wasn't used to being around dogs, so I was uneasy whenever their dog came around. They also had a guardsman, Kofi. He was always seen outside, walking around, patrolling the property, and watching over all of us. He was a local Ghanaian, so I was able to speak with him in my native language, Tree. And to my surprise, someone else was also living there. Amma, my Sunday school teacher, also lived with the Jones. She helped the Jones around the house with things such as cooking, cleaning, and she also helped to watch their son while the Jones served in our communities. What a lifesaver Amma was. Oh my gosh, she helped me so much. She helped me to grow accustomed to living with an American family. She would make sure to translate for me and explain to me the things I needed to do. I don't know what I would have done if she hadn't lived there too. She also helped with the cooking, as I mentioned, and she would prepare Ghanaian dishes and allow me to help her. I remember how much fun I would have when Amma would prepare fufu and allow me to help her to pound up the fufu for us to eat. Oh man, it felt just like being home with my mother and my sister and my family. She would also help to style my hair. I loved sitting outside on the porch in the afternoons to get my hair braided by her. I've always remembered Amma, and I'm so grateful to her. She helped to make the new family and house feel like home. I have no idea what I would have done without her. I'd never lived with a white American family. I didn't speak English. I had never been to school. It was all a little too overwhelming, and I don't know if I quite knew what was going on around me. But when she was there and I had somebody who spoke my language, but also somebody who I knew in life as my teacher, everything felt peaceful, and it helped me to transition and adjust to my new life. So as I mentioned, George and Jones served as missionaries in our neighboring town. They provided medical services, they shared the gospel, and they also helped to build the first hospital in our area. They were very busy and making a huge impact in our community. But since they were so busy, I didn't get to spend much time with them. They also had a son named Jacob. He was a few years younger than me. He was also Ghanaian, but I don't know where he was from. Maybe he was from the north, I'm not sure. He spoke English fluently. Quickly, he became my best friend and one of the reasons that I learned to speak English so quickly. Although learning to speak a language is acquired, it doesn't take long for you to learn how to speak a language, especially when you're immersed in it. Now, learning to read and write in a language, that's a different story. So Jacob would speak to me as if I understood. I would be aware that words were coming out of his mouth, but I really didn't know what he was saying in the beginning. I'd never heard English before because I hadn't gone to school, and if I had heard it, I didn't know what I was listening to. Regardless, Jacob would still talk to me as if he was talking to anyone else, and he would point out the things to help me to understand what he was telling me to do. I learned a lot of my basic vocabulary from listening to him speak and attempting to communicate with him. It wasn't too long till I started to be able to speak basic English. Jacob seemed so brave to me because he was not afraid of the dog. He would even pet the dog. Oh my, something I couldn't imagine then. He also had something I'd never had. Toys! Now, the fact that I hadn't had toys before is more cultural than anything. I didn't know any children in my town that had a bunch of toys and sat around playing with them all day. This was a new concept to me. Now, we played games, as all children do, but we didn't play with toys. There was no Barbie dolls, those stuffed animals, toy race cars. Yeah, none of those things. That was all new. He also had something else. He had a TV in his room. We would watch Looney Tunes and other Disney shows. Tweety became my favorite character, and since Tweety was yellow, yellow became my favorite color. So now you know where the affinity for the color yellow came from. My first TV program. It's so interesting the things that stick with us from our childhood and shape us in our adulthood. Watching those shows were not just entertaining, but it was instrumental in me learning to speak English. It allowed me to hear the language authentically spoken and make associations with it, with what I was seeing. I was unaware that I was actually learning significantly about the English language and the culture from those silly, silly cartoons. So, I bet you're wondering how I came to live with the missionaries from the United States. However in the world did they hear about me and to send for me? Well, this time it wasn't through my uncle. It was through Amma, my Sunday school teacher. She's the one that bridged a gap between me and the Jones. Amma told me that the Jones had approached her and asked her if there was anyone that she wanted them to help. She expressed to me that in that moment, she had plenty of family members who came rushing to her mind who could use her help. But it was my name that she provided them. She disclosed to the Jones of my situation and asked them to aid me. So I affectionately referred to Amma as the cupbearer. Do you know the story of Joseph from the Bible? He was a Hebrew who was sold into slavery in Egypt. Well, she reminds me of the cupbearer in the story of Joseph. She remembered my mother, she remembered me, and she reached back to help. She wasn't focused on what she could gain or attain, but truly about fulfilling God's purpose. You can tell just how selfless and submitted she is to God by that single act in that moment. A plant constantly uprooted does not get the chance to grow. It needs stable ground to establish itself, to get the nutrients it needs so it can flourish. Amma helped me to get rooted so finally I could start to grow.